Guests, the youth of Africa, allow me to introduce the panelists for this plenary session on the future of agriculture, and we'll be focusing on hearing youth perspectives on transforming the agricultural sector in Africa. I'll now introduce the panelists. We have in our panel, we have another Minister of Youth from Senegal. Honorable Minister, if you can take your seat as well. We have young agripreneurs who are doing amazing things in our continent. Allow me to introduce them. Nana Prempa, CEO of Grow For Me. It's an African agri-tech. There's Miss Esther Wanjiru Akimani, CEO of Farmer Lifeline. She has a device that enables farmers to detect crop pests and diseases. Please welcome Miss Esther Wanjiru to the platform. She's from Kenya. We have Miss Tamara Busamba, CEO of Agridis, a production and distribution company in Central Africa. Ms. Claire Hassoun, co-founder and CEO of Upload, solving logistical challenges in Southern Africa. We have Ms. Florence Namaganda, an agripreneur producing mushrooms and value-adding mushrooms, as well as providing coaching, therefore addressing the skills, the issue of access to skills for young farmers in Uganda. And we have our development partner, and representing the African Development Bank, we have Mr. Edson Mpisi, the Chief Financial Economist and Coordinator of the Enable Youth Program at the African Development Bank. And I think we need to really give them a round of applause. Yet, this is the first time we are having a track session. I would like to hear more about what your government is doing to engage youth in agriculture, first of all, and then take time to also advise what youth can do and how they can tap into this a sector that they've shunned for so long. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much. Like you really said, I'm Mohamed Bangura, Minister of Youth of the Republic of Sierra Leone. When you look at the theme this year, Resilient Africa, I just want to relate that to Sierra Leone and how resilient young people in Sierra Leone are. 20 years ago, we had a very deadly war, and it was 11 years war. After the cabinet did ask, let the Minister of Youth and the Minister of Finance negotiate. What is that when we talk about commercial farming, we need to have young people to take the lead in that. Access to finance, yes, but when you talk about access to finance, what would be the collateral for young people to access those finance? Let's go back to the financial institution. If you look at the banking product, yeah, 20 years, 30 years, the same product they used to have are the same product they have up to date. And I ask, why can't you have a model that says, if you have a very good degree, you can use that degree, original certificate, as a collateral for you to access funds? And that's what we are pushing now. Hopefully in the next couple of months, the banks, the Bank of Sierra Leone and the Youth Empowerment Fund will be moving towards that direction. Let young people be creative and access finance with the little that they have, and they will not ask them for collateral like bring a house, bring a vehicle. If my dad, my mom don't have a house, where do you expect me to have a house for me to access those finances? Let's reduce the benchmark that we request for young people to access finance. Let's use model. We talk about, it's only now we're bringing agriculture in a panel like this. And we said, so now that we've started using
words, and congratulations for the work that you're doing. I wish you all the best with the Youth Employment Fund and also the innovative financing products that you're working on. Moving on, I would like to now new to our continent, and you've heard what
Merci beaucoup. Je m'appelle Pape Malick Ndour, ministre sénégalais de la jeunesse, de l'entrepreneuriat et de l'emploi. Je voudrais tout d'abord féliciter notre collègue, le ministre rwandais de l'Agriculture, pour sa brillante prestation. Il a proposé un exposé clair, limpide. Ce sont des questions qui dépassent l'Afrique. Les questions liées au climat doivent trouver des solutions au plan mondial, et ce n'est pas tout le temps que la voix de l'Afrique est tout le temps attendue. Donc ça, c'est une question primordiale. L'autre question aussi, c'est par rapport aux investissements que nous devons faire. Parce que comme je dis, il nous faut davantage investir. Maintenant, l'autre question aussi, c'est la question de la formation des jeunes. Les jeunes, effectivement, doivent être dans nos pays, que les jeunes puissent disposer de leur propre infrastructure hydro-agricole. Donc, sont les contraintes auxquelles les jeunes sont confrontés. Maintenant, l'État du Sénégal a mis en place un programme qui est sous la responsabilité et sous la tutelle du ministère de la Jeunesse, le programme des domaines agricoles communautaires, qui essaie de trouver des solutions. Près de 30 000 hectares de terre aujourd'hui charge, d'investir sur des infrastructures, afin donc de dégrader le financement dont les jeunes auront besoin pour faire leurs activités. Et après, les domaines agricoles communautaires sont avant tout des plateformes où il y a tout un dispositif qui est mis en place, un dispositif logistique, mais aussi un dispositif de formation pour accompagner et suivre les jeunes qui peuvent aujourd'hui valablement faire leurs activités dans ces plateformes. Bon, ça a été une contribution quand même du Sénégal pour essayer de trouver des solutions par rapport aux questions auxquelles les jeunes aujourd'hui font face. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. You've highlighted some of the key trends. We have the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which we'll hear more about later. We are honored to have the Secretary General of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. We'll hear more about that towards the end of the session. And you also highlighted climate change, which links to the previous session, which was here. And for what you're doing, availing 30,000 hectares of land for youth to exploit in Senegal. Thank you very much for those remarks. And you also mentioned that access to finance remains a key challenge for youth. And this is a very appropriate way to segue to our young agripreneur, Mr. Nana Prempa from Ghana, whose company is investing and working with young farmers as well as smallholder farmers in the area of digital agriculture and investment in production. Mr. Nana, you're the next panelist. As you know, I mean, this has been said by the Honorable Minister in her opening remarks, that access to finance is a challenge for people at different segments of the value chain. Your platform, Grow For Me, enables investments in agriculture and connects farmers to capital and vice versa. Tell us more about this platform, what you're doing, and the various value chain actors that you work with, and what you see as the future, what we need to do to expand this kind of solutions throughout the continent. You have the floor.
Thank you very much for the question, and it's a pleasure to be here. To give you context about what we've done in our platform, because many young people are here with smartphones, I'd like you to take your phones and Google growforme.com, growforme.com. And basically what you find is that we built a platform that allows any single individual to become a farmer or a commodity trader, meaning you can simply go on our website and finance the production of an acre of maize or soybean or any other commodity for that matter. And at the end of the harvest, the commodities are sold and we profit share the returns with you, the farmer, and ourselves. And I'd like the young people here to experience that, because what we've built is a platform that is putting the power of financing agriculture in the hands of young people like yourselves and myself. For the very first time, we can channel our limited capital into producing the food we eat. But why is this important? Once again, a lot of you have smartphones here, so I'd like the young people here to just Google post-harvest loss in Africa. Just put that in your phone. for a minute, and you would find that over 30% of cereals produced goes waste. What does that mean? If a farmer farms and has 100 bags of maize, 30 of those bags will go to waste. Now, when you come to the case of root tubers, 50% goes to waste. And when it comes to vegetables, 70% goes to it. That means that if a farmer grows 100 bulbs of cabbage, 70 of those goes waste. So the second part of our business and our platform is an ability for you to finance commodity aggregation. So what we've built is a USSD-based application that allows a farmer to sell his or her maize at the warehouse and get paid instantly, whether through MTN, mobile money, or M-Pesa, whatsoever. And those commodities, after being checked for quality and quantity, are supplied to large off-takers, processors, and exporters. Now, what we realize is that by moving the needle of post-harvest losses low, we are literally meeting our food requirements. There's a lot of intervention that has been put into production for a long time, but it's time that governments and young people begin to pay attention to aggregation, which is right after production. And we believe that with the technology we've built that gives you access to finance and partake in that area, we are going to reduce post-harvest loss. Now, for a lot of the young people who are in rural communities who may not be here, there's a very simple message. For the very first time through this platform, you can become an aggregator. And by going into the very deep hinterlands and buying from farmers, you make a commission on every single bag you supply to the warehouse. And I'm very excited about what we're doing because we believe the future is in our hands as young people. And I want to take a minute to talk to the young people here. Your future is in your hands. You shape the future you want. So I want to challenge everyone here, go back, and in the worst case scenario, either start a farm or buy from a farmer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nana, and thank you very much for highlighting another key challenge which we face in our agri-food systems, that of post-harvest losses. And really applaud what you're doing with your application to reduce these post-harvest losses by addressing aggregation issues. Thank you, and the call to the young people to go and do something, either start a farm or buy from a farmer. What a challenge. Now, we move on because we are, now I've seen that I started with all the males. Our first lady here, Ms. Esther Wanjiru, is also into tech and has a device. She's the CEO of Farmer Lifeline in Kenya, and she will tell us more about what she's doing. But what I want to know is to really maybe share about how you are able to connect with farmers, given that we still have challenges of connectivity in the rural areas. And so if you could share about that and challenge the youth what they can do in this space of digitalization. Over to you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and even for having me here. The youth, hi. At the top there, hi. So yes, my name is Esther Wanjiru Kimani from Kenya. At Farmer Lifeline, we help farmers identify crop pests and diseases through a device that captures images, and in case it identifies a pest or a disease, a farmer is notified using a simple SMS. So whether it's an Android phone or the old phone that you have to press 3 times to get the C, they will still get that SMS and they're able to act. So it makes the farmers more of proactive than reactive. So we did this when we realized that farmers are losing a lot of their yields because of the pests and diseases. And the youth, on the other side, are discouraged from venturing into agriculture. When they see the losses that are there in agriculture, when they see that it will take you some days to scout an entire farm with your parents maybe to identify these pests and diseases. So as an entrepreneur, and I think I can speak also on behalf of young entrepreneurs who are beginning, there were challenges, especially when it comes to connectivity. The good thing about Kenya, by the time it was hitting 2020, because of the COVID pandemic, it's like the entire world was shifting online. And Kenya, not being left behind, had to take everything online. Studies went online. We were working from home. So even in the rural areas, even the farmers were required to buy phones, if not for farming, for their children, for them to attend to the lessons. So when Farmer Lifeline was going to these rural areas, we at least found that farmers had some digital literacy of some keywords. They could identify IT, ICT, bundles, data. So it was at least easier to pick it up from there. The pandemic did come with at least some bit of a positive impact in that area, that people had to go online. They were forced to go online. But as an entrepreneur, I also encountered a number of challenges which have been mentioned by our honorable ministers, such as finance. For me, I'm coming out of campus. I barely have collateral. I can only tell an investor that in 2 years, I will have this amount as profit. I can only tell them my collateral is registering my company, you know. So this is the only thing I can place on the table for me as an entrepreneur. But I was, it was a good opportunity to meet AGRA. AGRA held my hand. We are currently working with 900 farmers, but with the kind of push I got from AGRA, I'm sure I will be able to scale up, reach to more farmers and the like. But remember, there are youth who don't know how to get to these investors. So how do we do this? And this is what we found when we went to the rural areas. The young people have migrated. They have moved from their homes where agriculture is, and they are moving to towns. But I know that will be discussed later. So when you're trying to train the farmers, you are training the aged. So you're trying to tell an old woman that an SMS will come onto your phone, and when this happens, this is what you're supposed to do. So they want to understand, first of all, what technology are you bringing? We are used to these traditional ways. But imagine if we found the youth also in the rural areas assisting in disseminating this information to also this other generation. It would have been easier. Then I think another challenge I experienced was on media. The media play a very key role in every country, in the continent, we must agree. But the picture that I had of agriculture by then, I don't think was so nice. You know, but if the media would come out and say the youth are involved in innovation, the youth are making it in agriculture, let's go back to our homelands and let's make use of this land, you know, there is innovation that we can make work easier at the farm, because most of the youth run away because using the hoes and the djembes, and it's a lot of work. But if the media had painted that picture to us from a young age, so that when we are growing up, we know that we still have opportunity in agriculture, I can get involved, I think it would have been an easier sale, even for Farmer Lifeline. So I know we'll share more, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the excellent work you're doing. And the challenge to the media, please portray a very positive picture of agriculture. You see what she's doing. She's a university graduate, making it out there, working with farmers, and that will encourage our youth to stay in the rural areas and help and farm the lands that are available. Now I'll move to our development partner, Dr. Edson Pisi with the African Development Bank. He is the chief financial economist and coordinates a very big program called Enable Youth. So you recently participated in the Africa Green Revolution Forum, AGRF, which was just a few weeks ago. And there we had also youth, there was a call to action for youth to be engaged in. I want for you to speak to us about the opportunities that you see for youth in agri-food systems, and in addressing that, tell us about the exciting opportunities that African Development Bank can offer to the many youth that are really paying attention to what you have to say.
Thank you very much, Norma, and it's a pleasure for me to be here with a room so full of youth. I love working with youth. That's my fun part of the job. So I'll go very quickly to respond to your question, the opportunities that are there for the youth in agriculture. I should say that I think this is the best time to be alive for youth agripreneurs on this continent in Africa, because so many development partners, so many governments are rooting for youth. We have all realized that we cannot leave youth behind. They are the center of this continent. At 75% of the continent is under 35 years of age. So all development partners have programs geared towards youth. All governments have programs geared towards youth. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture of Rwanda just mentioned that here today. Yesterday, the Deputy President of Kenya mentioned that they have special programs for youth, not only in agriculture, and for development partners as well. For the African Development Bank, we have a specific initiative called Enable Youth, which is to empower youth in agribusiness. And over the past 6 years, under this initiative, the bank has invested over $400 million in 15 countries. What those Enable Youth projects do is that we support incubation centers in specific countries to provide training for the youth, short-term training on the actual value chain that they'd like to go into. So it's short-term training on agronomic skills. For example, if you want to do fish farming, you have to understand, what kind of pond you dig, what kind of liner you're using, where do you get the feed for the fish, where do you get the fingerlings, what's the stocking rate. So you need these skills. They're critical for you. But in addition to those agronomic skills, we also provide business development skills so that you can run your own business. So that's the training part with the incubation. However, in addition to that, we also have a component that is access to finance. So we have some financing that is run through a local financial institution so that the youth who have gone through this training can access financing, and there are different facilities depending on where you are in your business travels. For those who are still at the early stages, there are some grants. For others who are a bit advanced, there is subsidized financing. Others who are way ahead, we have some kind of guarantees, risk guarantees within that. So for example, in Kenya, Esther was talking about, we have an Enable Youth project in Kenya of about $30 million. Half of that is about 15 is working with incubation centers, and then half of that is access to finance through the Agricultural Finance Corporation. So Esther, when you go back, please find out from the Ministry of Agriculture. So having said that, that's just one of the initiatives that the bank is doing in the agriculture sector, but there are many other initiatives for youth in other sectors as well. I think two important points I'd like to point out, opportunities for youth going forward, is in agri-tech. Most of the youth here have their businesses in agri-tech. Agri-tech is leading the agriculture in the future and agri-food systems. What agri-tech allows you to do is to reduce your production costs, reduce your risks, and the bottom line is that you increase your profits. For some of us who have been in agriculture for many years, doing agriculture, trying to find out what is in the soil was so difficult. It took such a long time. It was so expensive. But now, with some kind of a tool which you can stick in the soil, or with a drone, you can scout a whole field and find out within a few minutes and at a fraction of that cost what are the nutrient status of that field. So agri-tech really, I think, is an important way to go. And just to say that this is not theoretical. It is happening now. Nana has said he's doing it. There's a company in Kenya called Twiga Foods. They have been in existence for about 8 years now. They are using their agri-tech ICTs to work on their supply chains, and they have raised capital close to $100 million over the last few years. They are serving, and what they have managed to do is the farmers that they work with, they have managed to cut post-harvest losses from 30% to about 4% with the farmers that they're working with. I mean, that is really a great achievement. In terms of investments in this sector, I just looked up some statistics that in 2018, the agri-tech sector, the revenues were about $150 million. And that's only 6% of the market. So there is space to grow in this area. In terms of equity investments in this sector, in 2020, $180 million was invested in the agri-tech sector. So for sure, there's a big possibility in that area. There are many other companies, and many of them are being led by youth. I mentioned Trigger Foods. The founder is relatively young. There is Hello Tractor. Many of you have heard about it. It's called the Uber of tractor or mechanization. It's also started by young people, like these ones on stage here. So just to mention one point where the bank is working in terms of supporting this ag sector, we have worked with the FAO to develop what we call digitalization for agriculture flagship. And what the bank and FAO are doing is to support governments to provide that last mile infrastructure, because that's usually where it requires a fair amount of money to be able to provide these digital technologies to reduce the cost so that they are affordable. One more point I'd like about opportunities for the youth here is before I finish on agri-tech, whenever we talk about agri-tech, most times we just end at ICTs. But also in terms of inputs, the seeds, you'll be surprised the amount of technology that goes into that hybrid seed. There's millions of dollars that have gone into producing that seed. So right now, there are so many technologies of drought-resilient seeds that are out there, pest-resilient seeds. So there's really a great opportunity in agri-tech. One other point I'd like to mention is on value addition. I'm talking to you who are here as also a farmer. I also farm. I do some drip irrigation. But I found from experience, you have to have some value addition. Otherwise, you're not going to move. If you're going to grow bananas, if you're going to grow lettuce, and you just sell it as it is, don't try it. Have some kind of value addition. On the continent, we import about $75 billion annually of food, and most of that is processed food from outside the continent. So there's a great opportunity for processing your food and value addition. Statistics show that by 2030, the agriculture and food market on the continent will be a $1 trillion industry. So that's another great opportunity. I think I'm taking too long, but having talked about those opportunities, I think I'd like to add some advice as somebody who has worked in this sector for quite some time. Yesterday, one of the football legends used a very good analogy, where he said, if you're going to go into any business, there's no elevator to take you to the top. You have to use the stairs. So sometimes I think we oversimplifying and saying, oh, agriculture is good, it's sexy, come in, you'll make money. But you have to be ready to work. There's a lot of work. You have to have discipline. You have to study and gather all that information. And you have to be a real entrepreneur set to go all the way to the end. So let me stop here for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mpisi. I will not try to summarize because I've been reminded we are really running out of time, and I really want you to hear from the amazing agripreneurs that we still have that are yet to speak. I will move on to Tamara. She's the CEO of AgriDis, which is a production and distribution company. She's doing some of the things that you've spoken about, Dr. Mpisi, about value addition. And she's also working with farmers in the production. You have the floor. Let me ask more of, based on what you've done as a successful entrepreneur and your extensive work, because I understand you work with many youths in your country and in the Central African region, what are key priorities of youth in agri-food systems? And what would you say to our development partners and our representatives of government here on what they can do to support youth in agriculture? Over to you.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour à tous. Je suis Tamara Mtotekema du Gabon. Alors j'ai créé Agridis, qui est une société de production et distribution de produits agricoles. Nous travaillons essentiellement avec des coopératives agricoles. Ce qu'on fait, c'est qu'on préfinance les productions. On travaille avec des petites industries qui font la transformation et nous revendons toutes ces productions. Nous travaillons avec des supermarchés et nous sommes en phase d'exportation dans la région de l'Afrique centrale, en Australie et en France. Je ne vais pas être très longue. Ce que je voudrais dire, c'est que si on parle de développement du secteur agricole, il faut qu'on investisse davantage dans l'accès à l'information. Pour moi, l'accès à l'information est primordial pour les entrepreneurs en général, en particulier dans le secteur agricole, pour prendre les meilleures décisions. L'accès à l'information pour être au fait des nouvelles méthodes de production, des méthodes saines de production. Il y a également la formation. J'insiste sur la formation parce qu'aujourd'hui, on parle de la zone des libre-échanges continentale africaine et ceux qui réussiront à mieux vendre dans ce grand marché continental, c'est ceux qui seront compétitifs. Et quand on parle de compétitivité, c'est add value, comme a dit le monsieur tout à l'heure, c'est d'avoir les capacités de créer des produits de qualité pour être compétitif à l'international. Et pour cela, il faut former davantage. Je vais rajouter l'infrastructure parce qu'on ne peut pas parler de développement du secteur agricole si on n'a pas d'infrastructure. Il faut les routes en bon état. Nous travaillons essentiellement en zone rurale. Nous avons énormément de pertes de production parce qu'il y a des routes qui sont en mauvais état. Il y a des zones dans lesquelles on n'a pas accès parce qu'il y a des routes qui sont en mauvais état. On fait de l'exportation, on parle des routes, mais il y a également les coûts de transport. Le transport coûte excessivement cher. Il y a également le stockage. Il y a énormément de production, mais si on ne peut pas avoir des stockages qui sont proches des plantations, c'est également de la perte de production. Donc c'est important que les partenaires au développement, les gouvernements investissent dans les infrastructures pour permettre aux agriculteurs, aux entrepreneurs de pouvoir être compétitifs. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Tamara. Thank you very much and for highlighting the issue of infrastructure. We really press for time because, you know, we're delayed, but I really want to give the two remaining agripreneurs an opportunity. Please take 3 minutes, and I hope the youth here can identify you and come to talk more and learn about what you're doing. I apologize for giving you less time than the others. Claire Hosson, she's addressing the logistical challenges that we also know are impeding the agricultural sector. Please tell us about what you do and how you see this expanding.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour. My name is Claire. I'm an entrepreneur from Maputo, Mozambique. So I founded Upload because I realized that in the country where I live, Mozambique, the fertilizers in the Mozambican farms were costing 3 times the price that they cost at an American farm, for instance. And why is that? It is because of the cost of logistics, road logistics. So we founded Upload. Upload, it's an app where a client in agriculture, for instance, can say, I need to ship 30 tons of maize from Lusaka to Kigali. They send it on the platform, the transporters are notified in real time and can express offers if they are interested and available. Then the client can book on Upload, pay in a safe way, and the transporters are paid quickly so that their operating costs are also paid in advance, and the shipment is monitored until the end with the driver app. We are shipping 90% of what we do in agriculture, and the reason is that agriculture needs efficient logistics, as you just said, Tamara. There are some harvests, we talked about the post-harvest losses, that are literally lost because of the lack of timely solution. So now you can say, I need this shipment tomorrow, and then you can get the trucks that are around. Second, you need cheap options. So how about we use the empty trucks that sometimes go to a destination and come back empty? With an app like that, you can identify these empty trucks and get discounted rates because they already amortize the price on the way in. And finally, the most important, we need reliable logistics. A farmer cannot afford to have an informal truck that is not insured, not properly maintained, has an accident on the road, and then all the yield of the last 6 months are lost. This is what it's about. Logistics is about that. All the efforts upstream can be lost because of logistics. Moving forward on, how there are other solutions like Upload. We are not the only one on the continent doing so. What I would really, like to say very quickly is really to resonate with my fellow entrepreneurs here. We need the youth. Just for the transportation companies, we don't talk to the owners of the transportation companies. We talk to their daughters and sons who understand technology. And the same goes in agriculture. But we need the youth to be there, to engage with that old generation and